And another question here, just before we get on to our exciting news, guys. All right. I hope you're as excited as I am, because, yeah, I'm really thrilled to be talking about what we're going to talk about in a second. But anyway, Jack has come in with a question here. Again, it's quite a lengthy one, so I'll read it to you guys. In January, we viewed a property but decided to go for another one. That sale fell through. We saw the previous property had been relisted with a new agent. I contacted the new agent and mentioned we had viewed the property in January and wanted to make an offer. The seller rejected our offer because the previous agent demanded the completion fee for any buyers that had viewed the property with them. Okay. The seller did not want to pay two sets of fees, understandably. In the end, we had to pay the first agent's fees, which was 1% of the sale price. We completed last month. My question is, was it legal what the first agent did? I've been advised to speak to Citizens Advice Bureau. It doesn't seem fair that other than a 15-minute viewing with this agent, we had no further contact but ended up a couple of grand out of pocket. Okay. All right, Jack. So brief précis of the situation. Jack looked at a property in January, decided to go for another one. Then that property that he went for fell through. He then went back to the original property, which had then been moved on to another estate agent. Okay. Now, Jack's complaining here that he's paid the fees to the first estate agent that listed the property for sale. And Jack, what I'm going to say to you, which is probably not going to be of much comfort at all, is that you've actually accepted responsibility for somebody's liabilities. Now, as a buyer for properties in the UK, unless you're buying it through something like the modern method of auction or something similar to that, where it's actually stated in the contract that you're responsible for paying the estate agent's fees, then you've actually accepted responsibility for the seller's liability, which is to pay the first agent's fees. Now, the reason this was introduced is because in the past there's been examples of estate agents that have listed a property for sale, okay, and then the seller advertises it with the estate agent spends all this money on advertising it to as many people as possible, people go around and view it, and then the buyer and the seller get their heads together and say, well, do you know what, let's get rid of the estate agent, let's save a couple of grand and we'll do a deal privately, okay? So what a lot of estate agents do to cover themselves in this situation is that they provide a marketing contract with a clause that that allows them to claim fees for any buyer that's been introduced for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months or longer, that the first estate agent is actually introduced to the seller. Okay. Now, that, as I say, that liability rests firmly with the seller. And it seems what's probably happened here, reading between the lines, is that you've been pretty keen to get this property and the seller's just shoehorned their responsibility over to you and said, okay, if you want it, then you pay my estate agent's fees. So it's not illegal what the agent's done at all. But what is unfortunate is that you've been you've taken on the liability of somebody else, which is really not on in my book. And I'm really sorry that you've had to go through that. So I don't think there's any right of redress in what's actually happened, because you've committed to that and you've actually signed up for it. So I'm sorry, I can't offer you much comfort in your situation there, but it's something to be aware of. And as I say, this could happen with any transaction if you don't read the contract, particularly if you're buying at auction, or as I say, this modern method of auction. There will be clauses in there, or could be clauses in there that say, you know, you're responsible for paying the estate agent's fees on this particular deal. So yeah, sorry to be the bearer of bad news there, Jack. It looks like it's another one to put down to experience, and another one to don't know quite what to say to give you some comfort here, but yeah, it's one to put down to experience, and I'm really sorry that you've been put in that position. I wish I could have perhaps had the conversation with you sooner before you'd gone into the deal, and maybe we could have offered you some words of wisdom before you actually went into it. So yeah, best of luck with that, Jack. Hope you're happy in the new home anyway. It's good that you've managed to get a property sorted, because there's been so many people that have been frustrated with trying to get the keys to the new home, and there've been, you know, lots and lots of delays in making it happen. And obviously it's been quite the journey between January and September to try and get into a new home. So wish you all the best of luck with that and hope that it all works out okay. Thanks for joining me again, guys. Really appreciate your attention and for taking part and sending in these wonderful questions. We'll be doing it at the same time next week as well. Although I am going to be in the middle of a house move sometime soon, so we might have to dodge around that, or I'll be doing it from my phone stood in the middle of a field somewhere, but we'll see what happens there. Thank you once again for joining me, and I look forward to joining you again on another webinar very, very soon. So look after yourselves. Goodbye, guys, and see you very soon. Take care.